Be careless for a moment and spend a lifetime with the blues. Shake hands with danger. Shake hands with Three Finger Joe.
Well, I'm not gonna hold your hand. I'm already someone's man. Well, you can wear your sweet perfume, put your hair up in a plume, but I won't make a move from where I stand.
Hello to all and welcome to the Ear-Wicker podcast. Follow along with our host, Vince Corkery, as he discusses a broad range of musical topics, with interviews of top players, club owners, producers, and engineers that make it all happen. Your virtual backstage pass. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast, and of course, it's free.
Dancing around the room, but I won't make a move from where I stand.
Welcome to Ear-Wicker podcast, and today we have a very special guest, a country blues, jazz, guitar player, singer-songwriter, I would say, Ivas John, and thank you for coming.
Hey, Vince. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
All right. I know you came a long way. You live in Cape, is that right?
I currently live in
Cape
Cape
Girardeau. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And are you from Cape Girardeau?
No, I've been living there about 10 years, but I'm from Chicago originally.
Oh.
So that's where I grew up. And then from there, I moved to Southern Illinois, Carbondale.
Oh. Okay.
Went to college at SIU. And raised some hell there for a while.
All right.
And that's kind of where I got my start playing music.
Oh, okay.
And then from there, crossed
Okay.
the river and moved to Cape.
Uh-huh. So, well, when did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar when I was about 15.
Oh, okay.
And before that, I had dabbled in some other instruments, played in school band, played trumpet.
All right.
I had some drums that I banged around on.
All right.
But guitar, it seemed like once I landed on the guitar, then that's really what stuck. And
nice.
it made sense because my dad and my brother both play.
Oh.
And so from my earliest memories, I always remember guitars being around the house, and they both were playing them all the time. And it was just part of the landscape in the home, you know,
Right on,
guitars leaning up against couches and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
cool. Yeah.
I, could have taken to it earlier, but you're not ready until you're ready.
That's right.
And about 15 or so is when I started to get the itch to just pick the thing up and fool around with it. And
So were you listening to blues then, or do you know
No,
what was inspiring you?
I was listening to whatever music was kind of popular at the time, but I wasn't moved by it, you know? It was just kind of the music of the generation, things that my friends were listening to, like Green Day and,
Sure.
things that were just popular at the time, but it didn't really do anything for me. And then I remember very distinctly one night grabbing one of my dad's CDs and taking it to my room and popping it in the CD player and laying in bed in the dark listening to it, the whole thing from top to bottom, and it was a revelation.
Oh.
I had never felt that way about music before. It was a record, Fenton Robinson's "Somebody Loan Me a Dime" record, which was on the Alligator label, and his by far his best, most famous work, you know.
Wow.
And
Dad has good taste, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure it had been playing in the house before, but I'd never really I'd heard it, but never really listened to it in that way. And as soon as it ended, I just hit play again and listened to the whole thing again. And I was just laying there for hours, just soaking it up, you know. And from that point, I felt like it was just a night and day difference, you know, like my taste in music was kind of created in a way.
Wow.
Or at least the foundation of it, you know.
Wow, that's cool. So when did you start playing in bands, or did you do solo first? Or
No, not till much later. You know, I played just at home, teaching myself things on the guitar and trying to play like B.B. King or do single note stuff, you know, and I was just trying to emulate the things that I was hearing. I knew nothing about, you know, chords or nothing about music theory, but I would just listen to records and try to play along as best I could.
Oh, wow.
And that went on, you know, that kind of at-home bedroom playing went on for years. And then I went away to college. I did the same thing there, you know, in my dorm room. And then I was a sophomore in college when I played my first gig.
Oh.
And I had just gotten a call on, you know, this was before cell phones, right?
Okay.
So I just had a landline phone in my dorm room, and I got a call out of the blue from a fella named Marty Davis, who had a band together at the time in Carbondale, and they were called the Blues Bandits. It's kind of a ragtag bunch.
Yeah.
But they played at bars on weekends and that kind of thing, and I was aware of the band, but I certainly was not a part of the scene or anything. You know, I was too young still at the time to even go to bars. But he called me up and he said that someone had told him about me and he wanted to meet, so we ended up meeting and then playing together, you know, at his place. And I'm sure he was probably wondering, like, I don't know what this kid is capable of doing, you know. So we got practice in, which was just him and I. And then the very next weekend, you know, he offered me a gig in the band, and went from playing in my dorm room, never having the experience of playing with any other musicians in a real live setting, to then playing in this, you know, beer garden in front of probably 300-400 people on stage, you know, with a real band. And so
Were you singing at that time too?
Oh no.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And just playing guitar and playing lead guitar stuff in that group. And I was just felt like, you know, I was hanging on by my fingernails to get through the gig, but they were a welcoming, you know, bunch and very encouraging. They're all older guys, you know, they're probably 50s, 60s at the time, and I was 19-year-old kid, you know. So that was huge, and that really like set the tone, you know. I was like, okay, I want to keep doing this. And luckily they kept on offering, you know,
and you were
opportunities for me to come and play. So.
You were just the guitar, like a guitar player in the band at this time.
Correct. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So how did you get to your? I mean, you have various styles, you know, of guitar playing, and then, you know, I'm not even talking about your singing yet. But you got a very soulful style on guitar and singing too. So how'd you get there?
Well, that journey, you know, that's kind of a long, meandering journey over decades, you know.
I mean, you finger style, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were just at home, you know, when you're a young kid picking out notes to that, you know, I mean, how did you get there?
Well, you know, for me in the beginning, it was all about electric blues, and it was all about B.B. King, Albert King, Stevie,
Yeah.
the kind of gods of electric blues, so to speak, that most people are familiar with. But then, digging deeper beyond that, kind of, I discovered some of their predecessors, and got into the music of people like, T-Bone Walker and Tiny Grimes and
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Gatemouth Brown and,
Yes.
these players that had a more kind of jazz-tinged type sound and were playing different kind of instruments, hollow body guitars that sounded different and had a more acoustic quality to them, and then, digging further back, then discovered like the country blues style and all the great players, who are a part of that world. And, I heard Mississippi John Hurt and what he was doing with his thumb picking and playing, big acoustic guitar. And it got me really interested in that. And then, Doc Watson and,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
all the other Chet Atkins, I mean,
So were
the
you
list
able
goes on and on.
to pick the finger style out just from listening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sitting there and drilling it in over and over again, and I was never one to like learn things totally note for note, but could approximate it and kind of get the essence of it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start writing tunes?
I started writing tunes when I got my own band together. So this would have been probably about 2004.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had been playing a weekly gig every Sunday night with a fella named Ripley Pryor, who was Snooky Pryor's son.
Oh.
And it was in Carbondale. And
Okay.
he's from Carbondale.
Oh, okay.
And Rip, he was dealing with some health issues and stuff, and he had to give up the gig, but he said, I want you to take it over, and, you can do this. Like, you can lead the band, and, it's your gig if you want it. And at that point, I was used to, playing regularly, and I didn't want to just have to lose the gig, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge for sure to 1 week go from being a sideman to then knowing the very next Sunday I was going to be fronting the band and singing and
Yeah.
So but that 1 week of time I was cramming a lot to figure out what tunes we could do and
Whoa.
and not only that, but like learn my way around a PA system better, and then the other guys in the band were looking at me like I'm the boss now, or I'm the leader of the band now, and it was just a dramatic shift, in a short period of time. There was no chance to really like gradually lean into it. It was.
Yeah. Wow.
It was right off the bat,
Well, maybe that's a good way to do it.
It was good to
Yeah.
just kind of dive into it.
Forced
and,
to learn everything. So.
Right. So, and in several ways throughout my career, things like that have happened that have kind of forced me to kind of step up to that next level, or take on more responsibility and take things on more, take more things on musically.
Yeah. That's.
And I'm sure it was rough. I wouldn't want to see any footage of those earlier gigs, but it was all all great experience. And over time, I got more and more confident about it.
Oh, okay. And that's when you were started writing some tunes. And
Yeah.
decided to record some records. I
Yeah.
know you have 2 out, right? It's Doing What's Natural.
So I have 5 albums out.
Oh.
And
I only knew 2. Okay.
yeah. My dad is a great songwriter
Oh.
in his own right, and he and I wrote a lot of the material together on the first record, which was called Street Music.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, he wrote several of those tunes. They're
It's a
all
very,
his
very
tunes.
nice record, man. I mean, really great. So,
Thanks.
yeah. It's kind of that you feel like it's a little more organic in the style maybe of Taj Mahal or Kebmo or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking back on that experience of making that record, it was just kind of easy.
Oh.
Didn't really overthink things too much, like I probably do now. But I got to retake that solo.
Yeah.
Record something, overdub something 100 times, to get it just perfect.
Right.
And I didn't really go through that with that record, and
It's great, man.
yeah.
And I know the other one is Street Music, right? Or is that? Yeah, that's the one I know, and that has horns on it. I think a lot more arranging, maybe
Correct.
bluesy,
Yeah.
dancey, maybe.
Yes,
Really
yes.
swings. It's another really fine record. So yeah, I got to listen to the other ones now. So what are the other CDs?
Well, the last one I did was Good Days A Comin', which was the all acoustic
okay.
record that I recorded with Gary Gordon
Right.
at Inside Out Studios.
Great. Okay.
And
Yeah, I know Gary.
the
Yeah.
Gordons.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that. I met Gary in about 2015, and then shortly after that, we hatched the idea to do a all acoustic record, which was something I was wanting to do. I was playing a lot more acoustic guitar and getting really into the whole style of like flat picking and bluegrass and folk music and that real earthy kind of warm acoustic sound.
Nice. Cool. Yeah.
And that we made that record.
Now is that a lot of originals on this? Or is
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was mostly originals.
Oh,
I
okay.
think all but 3.
Oh, wow.
And
What's the name of that CD again?
it's called Good Days A Comin'.
Okay. All right. And where can you get it? I mean,
You
is it
can-
available?
Yeah,
all the
iTunes,
outlets? Okay.
Spotify, all the digital marketplace, and
Okay.
you order it from my site.
Okay. What's your site?
Just ivasjohn.com.
There you go. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Great. And who were some of the musicians you've been recording with on Street Music? I know there seemed like a lot of musicians on that record. Horn players, keyboard players.
Yeah. So that was like my core band at the time.
Oh, okay.
And I've had, been fortunate to have lots of great musicians to play with over the years, and had a lot of different versions of the band since those early days.
Okay.
So those were mostly local guys that played on those records.
Oh, yeah.
And then since I've been doing more recent recordings, been using different studio musicians for
okay.
more specialized kind of sounds and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Had a great opportunity to go down to Fame in Muscle Shoals and
yeah.
recorded several songs there with Kev Mo's band.
Oh, no kidding.
And that was a great experience. So Casey Wasner is Kev's drummer.
Oh.
And he's also a great producer, and he kind of spearheaded that project.
Wow.
And he brought in all the rest of Kev's group, and they we recorded 4 of my original tunes
Awesome, yeah.
down at Fame.
When was this now?
That was about a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so hoping to be releasing some of that stuff
Oh,
soon.
it isn't released yet.
Not yet.
Ah, well, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear that. That's incredible. Wow. congrats. That's
Oh,
cool.
thanks.
Yeah, man. Now, who's in your band now?
So my band now is Bennett Schaefer on drums and Jamie Pender on bass guitar.
Nice, yeah.
And he lives down by me.
Oh, okay.
And then Taylor Strife on keys.
Oh,
And we'll have, special guests come and play with the band from time to time. John Erblick on harp,
nice,
sits in with us often, and other musicians as well. But that's the core band.
oh, great. Yeah,
And,
yeah, great band.
Yeah, great guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Really,
man.
really feel lucky to play
right.
music with them as much as I do, and
That's great.
you know, real reliable, bunch of guys and great players, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And what are some of your future dates you got coming?
Well,
gigs, I guess. I should
All my
say.
dates are always posted on my site, which again is ivasjohn.com,
Right on.
and I try to keep things up to date there, and play a lot. We have our regular circuit that we do in the region, down by me in Cape, Southern Illinois, Central Illinois, St. Louis,
Oh, okay.
Chicago, and yeah, we try to keep moving.
That's great. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you told me you're going to Colorado. Did you mention that yet?
Yeah.
And where are you going to play there?
Mostly around the Denver area.
Okay.
So one of my former bandmates, Brad Bell, he lives in Denver now.
Oh,
So he
okay.
moved from Illinois to Colorado several years back, and so I've been going out there
Oh,
every fall now to play, and just
Great.
kind of building
Yeah.
momentum each
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
making new connections, and it's a great place to be.
yeah.
So yeah, that'll be the end of September, and before that we'll be up in Chicago for a couple of gigs.
Oh, great.
And so it's going to be a busy month.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
It's always good to hear, man. Let me ask you this: you've played a lot of gigs over the years. Do you have any memorable gigs that come to your mind? Anything that
Yes.
All
Well, I was fortunate to have a chance to go over to Ireland
Oh.
some years back and play. I guess this would have been about 2016, and was playing a gig at a little pub called Levis's Corner House in Ballydehab, Ireland.
Okay.
And
Where's that? Ballydehab.
it's in West Cork.
Oh, hey, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
really beautiful, rugged southern coast of Ireland, and they're way big on the arts there and music, and I've been a few times,
Oh,
and
really?
can't wait for the next chance to
Oh,
go
wow.
back.
That's cool.
But that at that particular gig, the famous British actor Jeremy Irons, he sat down at the front table right in front of where I was playing. He's as close to me as you are right
my.
now,
Oh, really?
and he really enjoyed the show,
Oh,
and
great.
we ended up talking,
Yeah, right on.
quite a bit on the set break, and he invited me to come back and hang out with him back at this castle that he has restored
Wow.
in Kilco, Ireland,
Oh, wow.
and
You partied with Jeremy Irons, huh?
yeah, so that was probably the most memorable gig.
Yeah. That's wow. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, conversely, you have any worse gigs that?
Those I'd rather not speak about.
Oh, sometimes they're the best.
Yeah. Oh, either that or I just put them out of my memory,
Yeah. Well, it could be
Yeah, there's been a few of those
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
I know that.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you can relate to.
Yeah. Most of mine are like that. So. Let me ask you this: if you could go back in time, would you follow the same musical path?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
That's a good question. And I mean, I don't feel like I really had a choice.
Ah, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
not to get too deep into the whole
Right.
destiny, you know, or things
Sure,
that
yeah.
we're fated to do in life. But I really feel like once I got onto the track of playing the music that I play, then it just really felt like it gave my life a purpose, and that I was in a groove, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it just was the most natural thing in the world to pursue it and continue going in that direction.
Yeah.
And I've never once, you know, looked back and said, I wish I had done something different. I mean, sure, there's ways to make more money,
Oh,
and you know,
Yeah, but that's, I mean, if you know that, hey, this is it. I mean, that's a gift, you know.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's
and all
really
the
cool.
people, you know,
Yeah,
that I've met in my life as a result of playing music, you know, all the wonderful friends and fans, and
Yeah, man.
it's just such a rich life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we really haven't talked about your singing because, I mean, you know, you're such a excellent guitar player, but your voice is really fantastic too. You know, you got a very soulful voice, and I don't know where that came from.
Thanks.
I don't know if it's from, you know, living down in Carbondale, drinking the water or what. But,
Well, it probably came from my dad because he's a wonderful singer.
oh, okay.
And he has, you know, a very strong singing voice, and he was always singing around the house when I was growing up, and he was in the Lithuanian opera company.
Oh,
So my
really?
parents are both Lithuanian immigrants.
okay, sure.
So I grew up going to Lithuanian school, and you know, as part of that, you learn about folk music and singing and dancing. You know, traditional Lithuanian songs. So
Okay, yeah,
that was
that's-
always part of the schooling. You know,
Yeah.
was you sang these songs and did the dances and
Wow.
wore the traditional Lithuanian clothing and stuff. And,
Cool, yeah.
And my dad was in the opera, Lithuanian opera company there in Chicago,
Oh, wow.
because they have a huge
Right.
Lithuanian population in Chicago, and but he also, you know, loved like the blues and, you know, Ray Charles and, you know, he would be listening to all kinds of stuff, country, Hank Williams,
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
just
Wow.
and you know,
Fortunate. You are fortunate.
yeah, got a lot of great, you know, got exposure to lots of different things. But yeah, so I guess if I have any kind of a gift for singing, it came from him.
Ah, excellent, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just really big, and I think when you sing, people just stop and they really listen. You know, so you really have a connection with with the music. It's really great. So
Well, gosh, it took a long time to get comfortable doing it. You know, like some people, their path to performing is, you know, from a very young age, they're maybe doing talent shows and they're holding a microphone in their hand and they know what
Yeah.
that feels like,
Yes,
you know, to be singing in front of an audience. But I kind of rejected it for a long time. I was very self-conscious about it. And then little by little, luckily I had, you know, lots of great mentors and people that were encouraging to me in those formative, you know,
Sure, yeah.
early years.
Wow.
And when I was in Carbondale, that kind of gave me more confidence in doing it. And then,
Yeah,
you
man.
know.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. It just says something about, I guess, like you were saying, people, they're sort of trained when they're young and they just sort of take these steps.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, you got to do this now. Whoop, next. You know, okay, you know, it's like the door's open, but the cliff was a little deep, a little taller.
Yeah.
You know. So,
yeah.
but-
Kind of traumatizing in a way.
Yeah, but I mean that's quite a lesson. I mean, for all musicians, really.
Yeah.
It's like you just got to go do it.
Right,
And,
right.
That's interesting to me how that happened to you. So that's great, man. Okay, so I'll wrap this up. And what do you think inspires you to keep picking up the guitar and singing and writing?
Well, there's lots of things that inspire me.
Okay.
There's the obvious, listening to other people play music well.
Yeah.
And there's the deep wells that you can kind of always go back to, like somebody like Doc Watson for me is like, I could never grow tired of his music, and I can listen to it when I need a burst of inspiration, kind of always, it's just a source I can always go back to. And so there's that. But then there's also the experimenting, with different sounds and like different instruments and different amps and, like kind of going deeper into the tonal, possibilities of playing the music and finding things that work for you. And I feel like there's no end to that,
Right.
as you well know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of part of it. That's part of the creative process that any artist goes through. I don't care if you're a painter or a writer you're always trying to get closer to your voice and, find the things that work for you and that inspire you and keep you going.
That's
and
great.
Also teaching, I've been teaching guitar
Okay.
to other people for 20 years now.
Okay.
And I give private lessons, and I love doing that.
Okay. Well, that's great. I
And
didn't
like
know
seeing
that.
seeing other people on their journeys with the instrument and making progress, that's inspiring to me.
Yeah.
And I love kind of being part of that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. How do you take students? Do you just gotta?
It's really, I've been doing it. I've worked at, music centers and stuff over the years, but now I just do it privately.
Okay.
And just teach out of my home, and it's just strictly word of mouth.
Okay.
So, but anybody who, would be interested in taking some lessons, then they can reach me through my site and
Okay. That's great.
just say hi and,
Yeah.
Well,
I encourage everybody who's listening, come out and see you. Because they'll be inspired. So,
thanks.
Yeah, man. And thank you so much for coming over and taking up your time with us over here at Ear-Wicker. And I know tonight you're playing down at the Soulard Blues Fest. Is that at
Soulard
Big
Blues
Daddy's?
and Roots, yep.
Yeah. Andy Coco ramrodding that whole thing down there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very excited about it.
Yeah. I have a great gig, and hope to see you soon. Come back and hang out and all that. Again, thank you for showing up. Ivas, John, everybody, and we will see you at the next gig.
All right. Really appreciate you doing the podcast, Vince, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. See you.
If you'd like to speak with Ear-Wicker Podcast, please email us at vincentcorkery57@gmail.com.